on newstalkzb.co.nz.
It's Leighton Smith.
Let me just start with something general while we organise that, and it's an observation, not just mine. Actually, it came from other people, and then I suppose I came on board and agreed with it. You have taken on a different persona this year. You don't seem to be enjoying it with quite the freewheeling attitude that you've had up until now. Things are starting to come home to roost a bit. You're being challenged a bit more. How do you feel?
Well, I feel great about it. But what is true is that we have an agenda that we need to complete. There has to be an urgency about that. Probably what I learnt after the first term is that the first couple of years are critically important, that you bed in those changes that you want to make. Because in the end, people need to see results. And it's all very well with election polls and all that sort of stuff, but the only poll that matters is on election day. So it's how they feel in 3 years' time. And so my view is that we need to deliver those results so that in 3 years' time people can sit there and say, well, has it been worth electing them and do we want to re-elect them? So that's one thing. So that's the first point. The second point is that what is true is the media are in a more aggressive and hostile mood towards us.
You noticed?
Yeah, just funny enough. And look, despite contrary to their opinions, I'm not that bent out of shape about that. I expected that. In fact, Helen Clark came up to me when I was at the swearing in of the government in 2011. She came as a former Prime Minister. And she says, yes, I remember what it was like. First term was sort of okay, the second term was disastrous, and the third term was diabolical. I mean, that's just what happens. Pressure comes on governments more because the media become more antagonistic. It is what it is. I mean, there's no point in us... and I don't mean that as a complaint. I'm not moaning about it. It's just a statement of fact. So you've got a number of controversial things that we're doing. You've got probably a slightly different approach from the media. And you've got some challenges that have just been there and an urgency that we need to complete what we're trying to do. So I don't think it means I'm enjoying it any less. It's just there's been a lot of pressure thrown at us.
And you're handling the pressure all right, you think?
Yeah, I like it.
You're not losing sleep or...?
No. So in fact, I've been sleeping a little bit better. Funnily, I used to go to bed. It's not that I don't sleep well. It's just I used to go to bed probably more about 1 o'clock and get up at 5:45. And I'm slightly trying to get into bed more 12:30, 12 maybe if I can. Just a little bit more. Just decided.
Not much more. I couldn't operate on that. Have you just one more aspect of that? Have you noticed anything about the media's behaviour over a period of time and how it responds to various things?
Well, the Herald's turned more tabloid. And they won't like it if I say that, but that is absolutely a statement of fact. What they're doing at the Herald is very clear. They have decided they need to get their circulations from stopping falling, or at least maybe try and go up. So they have a new editor, and the new editor's turned the front page of the paper into a pretty sensational sort of front page, and that's a deliberate strategy to get more sales at the dairy. So the volatile bit won't be their home distribution because you're buying the paper whether you get it or not. The volatile bit is whether you go into the dairy or the supermarket or the service station and buy the paper. So you look at it, the front page, almost the entire front page is always one story, fairly sensational. And then the rest of the paper is probably a bit more traditional Herald, although still a bit more aggressive. And so they've brought David Fisher over from the Herald on Sundays, an investigative journalist so-called. Shane Curry's now the editor, not Tim Murphy. And so they've got a completely different approach. And they're just doing that to try and stop the decline in sales.
Okay, but that's only the Herald. What I was referring to really was that this has been an interesting year news-wise, and there have been long patches where there's been a dearth of real news.
Yep.
And the media, the political media in particular, I think gets more aggressive in those periods.
Yeah, they can do. I mean, TV1's lost Guy and Espiner, which is a pretty big loss for them. Love or hate him, and personally I think he's pretty good. Myself, he's been a big loss, so they're now going to have Corrindan try and fill those shoes. But Guyan's a very experienced political reporter. I mean, they've generally been doing okay, but there's been changes around there. Duncan Gunn's going off to radio. So it's just
Never to be heard from again.
Yeah, there's been a few changes, basically.
All right.
But anyway, look, as I say, it's not something I think anyone should overly worry about, and I don't, despite what they think. I actually don't worry about it. What I worry about is making sure that we're doing the right thing for New Zealand, but there has to be some urgency because the international environment is still extremely fragile, if not weak.
Well, we'll get on to that.